Hey, Nittany Nation, we are back again, episode 4 here. Nick's here again. I'm Andy. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, everybody. We're having a good day today. Hopefully, we're all having a good day as well. Got a lot of football to talk about. We're going to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Let's actually talk football this week instead of recruiting. Talk some on-the-field stuff instead of, 17 and 18-year-olds that we have no say over what they're deciding. So I thought we could start off talking about Drew Allar. Highly regarded, first-round draft pick potential. Pretty much everybody's predicting him to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. But as we both know, there was some room for improvement last year.
Just a little bit.
Especially in like the big games, like against Notre Dame, and even to a smaller extent, the Boise State SMU playoff games. Ohio State, of course. We kind of saw Drew kind of shrink in the biggest games of the season and really hurt us against Ohio State and Notre Dame, frankly.
Now, I think I'm going to go off right off the bat here. I'm coming in. So USA Today, about 12 hours or so ago, last night or early this morning, came out with their top ranking of Big Ten quarterbacks. Number 3, Dylan Raiola. Number 2, Luke Altmaier. And number 1, our boy Drew Allar. So, just from a media perspective, just alone, I mean, I think they see improvement going from your sophomore to your junior year. I think you're going to see a lot of improvement there as well. I think, just being mature and having a full year under the belt of, being big man on campus is going to definitely, I think, help him, not hurt him in a way where I think I think what we're going to have to see out of him, though, is more confidence. I think if he's confident, then we're confident, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is it's what Penn State has been missing since Trace McSorley, basically, where it's the biggest game of the season. Can the quarterback go win you a game? Can the offense go win you a game?
That is definitely something that we have been missing. Can he go out there and go, guys, I got this?
And I mean, he's shown shades of it. That's what's crazy. Like USC last year puts together a crazy drive at the end of the fourth quarter there to tie it up and push us to overtime where we eventually won. So we know it's there. But can it come up against Notre Dame? Can it come up against Ohio State? Georgia, if you meet them in the playoffs? Like, it needs to come out against the biggest opponents, not a USC team that finished 7-5.
I think that's definitely true. And then on top of that as well, just the idea that you brought up a great name, Trace McSorley. He's now a part of the coaching crew. I'm hoping that he'll be able to instill. I mean, he's been a part of the coaching crew, but now that we've seen what Allar can do with the full year, he's in there now. I would hope that he'll be able to take some of what he's done and bring it down to Allar, and hopefully see maybe some hints of McSorley this year, maybe.
Like, just give me a little bit of the dog that's in Trace McSorley and put it into Drew.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of that dog. Put it in there.
That's all we want. Just a smidge of dog. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah, because I mean, if we look at the stats here, like I have the game logs pulled up here.
Okay.
In the Big Ten, so just the 9 Big Ten regular season games, he only threw for 10 touchdowns in those 9 regular season Big Ten games. So I mean, there's a lot of stat padding with the 3 non-conference games.
That is not a lot of touchdowns to throw around 10. Ooh. All right. Well, now just out of pure curiosity, since you have it all looked up, what was his percentage in the Big Ten?
It was good. He had good completion percentage. Most of the games were over 70, a couple in the 80s. So you can't complain about the completion percentage. So he's accurate, but we're not seeing. Of course, having Nick Singleton and Katron Allen will take away from that, and Tyler Warren last year. Taking snaps as quarterback in the goal line formation. And having two running backs that are top tier is going to take away some of those throwing touchdowns. But 10's not a lot.
I want to see him open the top up every now and then. I want to see something over the top. When I hear 70s and 80% completions, that just makes me think you're dinking and dunking. You're hitting the open man. You're checking down. You're quote unquote doing all the right things, which I'm not mad about. But like you said, we need a little dog in you. All right. Put one over the top. Put one on somebody's head. Let's see you take a chance or two. And I think we alluded to this a couple weeks ago. It's what we want to see. We don't want this. Okay, 80% Drew. I would be fine with a 71% Drew, who might have 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, but he's going over the top and he's making these DBs have to work a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's keeping the defense honest, but we need to graduate from game manager to the next step, where you make the plays and you determine the outcome of the game.
From game manager to playmaker, I would say.
Yeah. Prime example is Ohio State last year. Once they hit the playoffs, that offense exploded. They were throwing it all over the yard, and they went and won those games with the offense. Where Penn State typically wins the game with defense, which is great and all, but that defense isn't there every single game.
You can't rely on your defense every game. You can't be like, okay, we can put up 21 and then we can just relax and hope that our defense holds it down. No, let's put up 42 and then let the defense run wild and just see what can happen.
Yeah, especially with the makeup of this team this year. With the stable of running backs we have, let's get up and get wild early and just be super explosive and then just chew clock the rest of the game. Get that early lead and front run.
You don't see that a lot either. It would be nice to be on that side of the games, as opposed to sitting there until talk about cardiac kids a couple of games this season. Can we just go? It would be very odd too. It would be a weird feeling. Oh wow, we're up 21-7 at the end of the first quarter. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Besides doing it against Kent State, because we had that Illinois game for that night game against Illinois last year, finished 21-7. UCLA was close for too long. Then USC, we went to overtime. Wisconsin was tight because Drew got hurt, and Bo Prabula bailed us out there in the second half. And then Minnesota, we needed that fake punt in the fourth quarter to seal that 1-point victory. There's a whole, and you talk about those teams, and they're all a tier below Penn State and talent-wise.
A tier? Some of those teams might be 2 tiers below.
Yeah, so I think the next evolution is for Drew, and getting the new wide receivers should only help that with 3 new receivers coming in on transfer portal. Let's stretch the field vertically instead of just horizontally.
Yeah, I think though, like you said, with the 2-headed monster we had in the backfield last year, that was the idea: spread them out horizontally and then hit them right up the middle. But you're not going to have that safety net to lean on this year. Drew's going to be the safety net. Okay. Oh, it's 3rd and 5. Okay. We're not going to run a counter to the left. We're going to need him to throw the ball and get that ball there and get a first down, which I think is going to help him though. I think you're going to see a lot of development, or you're going to see character. I don't know if we're going to see good or bad because the season hasn't started yet, but this is going to be a test of character when you're down 7, you're on your own 10 with 8 minutes left and it's 3rd and 5. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And that's what's been missing, is taking that next step offensively. Defense has always been there for us, but that defense is going to give up 20, 30 points every once in a while. Can the offense?
Everybody gets hot. Everybody gets hot at one point or another.
Yeah. We're not Michigan of 2 years ago where you can run the ball 45 times and win a game. Well, we can against a couple teams, but it's not going to win you the national championship that way.
No, yeah. All it takes is for one good offensive coordinator to see the defense and go, "Oh, I got an idea," and all it takes is 3-4 plays, and then you're up And next thing you know, you're playing catch up for the rest of the game. You can't be so complacent just thinking that the D is going to win you every game.
Yeah. And then speaking of finding good coordinators, offense coordinators that
you see what I saw that I saw that was a good one.
Transition to Kotelnicki, who's coming into his second season here at Penn State. Highly regarded as top, 2 offensive coordinator, and he's not number 2 in the country. And the big thing is can he repeat the little bit of success we had without Tyler Warren?
I'm curious to see how much the offense changes with Tyler Warren out and as I like to call it, the two-headed monster in the backfield gone as well. I mean,
they're still there.
I mean, they're there. I mean, but Warren being gone and having that safety blanket, and having Allar. Yeah. I mean, not having. Okay, let me rephrase what I said there. Not them being gone, but them still being the two-headed monster. But Warren being gone, and I'm curious with these new receivers coming in, how much the offense is going to change. I think I said that a bit wrong there, but I'm curious how much pizzazz is Kotelnicki going to have? What's he going to change in the offense this year? Because if you just press Control-C, Control-V, we're going to have a big problem.
Yeah. And one thing I could see happen in the evolution of this offense is, do you remember when the Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, Megatron, where it was almost like Stafford was predetermining going to Calvin Johnson and had to throw it to him so many times. And then when Calvin Johnson retired, all of a sudden Stafford was a better quarterback because he had to spread it around.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping from the offense this year is, okay, we're not reliant on we got to get the ball to Tyler 10, 15 times because that's what it's going to take to win.
Mm-hmm.
Can we now spread it out to get Singleton, get Allen more in the passing game, the 3-4 new receivers, new tight ends? Like, now that Drew doesn't have the safety blanket to Tyler, does that take the offense to the next level? Because now he's spreading it out and making more of the reads.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of spreading it out more now. But when you have a generational talent like Warren, I understand that. Give that man the ball. Give that man the ball as many times as you possibly can. I mean, we're going to run 3 end arounds just because we can, just to make sure that he gets the ball. And when you have that shiny toy, you definitely want to play with it as a coordinator. You want to be able to, what if I do run out 90% of the plays through him in the first quarter just to see what happens? And so I'm curious to see where he goes from there now, especially he just did an interview with Sports Illustrated. And here's the one question they asked him is, how is Drew Allar different physically? And he just goes, ask him to flex next time you see him. You'll see. And so I'm curious now that he knows that this might be his new shiny plaything is Allar. Are we going to see a little more spread? Are we going to see 4 wide maybe with these 3 new receivers? I'm curious. Are we going to maybe go empty backfield a couple times this year? It would be awesome to see something like that.
Yeah. Just anything we can do to be more explosive. I mean, that's the whole reason we brought Kotelnicki in, is because under Mike Yurcich, that the offense couldn't do anything. It was hard to get 5 yards.
You had to earn. It was earn your yards type of. It was like earn every yard type of football. But that was kind of his mentality too, though. It was you have to fight for every yard. No, how about we go over the top for 30 really quick and just maybe not have to bang our heads against the wall until we get there.
Yeah. Like it's a lot easier to go 30 yards at a time than 3 yards and getting on 3rd and 1 every time.
I agree with that. So I'm curious to see if they do spread the offense out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping because the other thing is, if you look back at Kotelnicki at Kansas, he's always been super balanced. Looking back at 2023, the offense there for Kansas had 2,500 yards rushing and 2,500 yards passing. And then the year after that, he had 3,100 yards passing and 2,600 yards rushing. So he's always been a balanced guy. So I don't think we necessarily need Drew to be throwing for 350 yards a game? I mean, it'd be nice because you're having some chunk plays at that point. But I think without Tyler Warren, this offense has a chance to be even better because not only can the defense not just focus on one guy, Drew doesn't have to focus on one guy.
I love your Stafford to Megatron comparison there. It's such a good. I was just thinking about that in my head. Like literally, yeah. He's not gonna. The obligation is gone now. I mean, would you? I mean, Drew was so good last year, but we would still say that Tyler was the big man on campus last year, right?
He's what made the offense go.
And so now you're going to turn around now and you're going to have Drew's the big man on campus. I think it's going to be more he's not going to feel obligated. There is no obligation anymore. He's going to open it up. He's going to go, who do I like? Who do I not like? I've got 3 new receivers to work with. I've got 2 guys in the backfield who I can completely trust, who I know we're going to run through anybody. I hope to see a little more swagger come out of him. I want to see a little McGregor-esque, if you may.
Yeah, he showed it a couple times, but I mean, it was against like West Virginia and Illinois. Like, let's show up big against Oregon this year. Let's show up big against Ohio State.
You know what? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. We've talked about it the first episode. We got to see something this year. We've got to see something. If we don't see anything, then Johnny, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think that calls right into play James Franklin. And we all know the terrible numbers against ranked teams when you look at James Franklin. Pull it up here.
Boy.
Against ranked teams, 17-26. 17-26. 39% winning percentage.
Not ideal in any of the senses there. But you know what? Room for improvement.
I mean, the thing about most of the losses is Penn State wasn't the team that was favored. If Penn State's favored, James Franklin wins that game probably at like a 90% clip when he's favored. I don't know the exact numbers, but if Penn State's favored, James Franklin's going to win that game, basically.
What is that mental block that he's just got when he's down? Is it he thinks he's got to do too much? I'm curious as what you think. Do you think what, in your opinion, is that mental block against ranked teams? What do you think?
I think early on, it was a lot of him being a micromanager. He stated himself that he's a micromanager. He micromanages somebody until he knows they can do the job, and then he backs off. But you see him on the sideline, he always has that play sheet up. And I think early on, and probably just until Kotelnicki, I think James Franklin would chime in a little bit more than he needed to be and not trust his offensive coordinators or his defensive coordinators. I think now with having Kotelnicki and Jim Knowles, regarded, top coordinators in the nation, I think he has stepped back from the play calling, and I think we've seen that last year. It stepped against the Ohio State game, but I don't think that's on him. They still got they had a chance in the fourth quarter on the goal line to tie up the game against Ohio State, and they just couldn't get it done.
Do you think
it always comes down? They're always one play away in the biggest games, it feels like.
Do you think after all these years that Franklin would be willing to, after what Kotelnicki did last year with the offense, do you think you're going to see him maybe in those goal line, final play, here we go situations, maybe take a back seat to him? Because he, like you said, he's always got that play sheet right there ready to call something, or 86 a call if he has to.
Yeah. I think you either trust your coordinator or you don't. You hired Kotelnicki for the very purpose of taking the offense to the next level, being explosive, and getting to the national championship and winning the national championship. That's what you hired Kotelnicki for, was to take the offense to the next level. Trust him to do it. Be the GM of the football of the team. Be the GM. That doesn't mean you have to call a play. Just be the general manager. Manage the clock. Manage the clock. But in crunch time, you hired him to do this job. See if he can do the job.
So you're saying basically almost like be a Bill Belichick, all right? You hired the guys. You're gonna sit back and go, all right, let's see what you do here. And I respect that. I think that's another thing that he needs to, like you said, he's always been a micromanager. But you brought in a guy who everybody knew was a guy, and this is the first guy that you brought in who you really have been like, okay, I like him. And then you have a staff now with Knowles, with Kotelnicki, with McSorley, who you coached previously, is now came into your coaching staff. I really think that you're right. I think he really does need to let the reins go a little bit and just let these coaches coach at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like I said, we're always one play away against Ohio State. Pretty much for the last probably 7 of the last 9 years where we've lost, you can point to one play call where if it was different, we come out victorious instead of losing 9 straight now.
Yeah, but that's also a lot of whataboutisms too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a whataboutism. But moving forward, yeah, you're 100% right. There were one play games where, and literally there were a couple 1 yard games, the 1 yard plays in these games that were the end all be all. But he's now, what is I forget what season Franklin's in off the top of my head.
Season
12 years in the game. You gotta, you know what? Something has. If you've been with a program for that long, switch it up a little bit. I think Kotelnicki's got this great ideas in his head. I love how he drew up the offense last year. I thought it looked really good. And then you know what? Just you're going into this season, I would say, better off than you were last season. And if you're doing better, do what worked. You brought in this new offensive coordinator. You brought in these guys. Let them work. Let them work for you. Stop working so darn hard.
Right. And I mean, there's a balance there because you have to balance. Kotelnicki does a lot of what would be cute stuff, gimmick stuff. So, I mean, is James Franklin there to rein that in sometime? It's such a feel thing. This is why we're not paid millions of dollars to be coaches.
Exactly.
But there's such a
this
feel
is why
thing
we're on YouTube having this conversation right here.
Yeah, like there's such a feel thing about it. Okay, you're in the goal line. Is the best play to give it to one of the backs, give it to Tyler Warren, let Drew do, like, this is why we're not paid the big bucks. But hindsight's 2020, and we can look and like sometimes the offense got too cute. Was that Kotelnicki or is that Franklin? Does Franklin need to rein in some of the cuteness at times? It's such a balance. It's so hard to say James has to do this better.
Personally, I like the cutesy stuff. That's me. You know what? You want to go 2 formation changes and then run an end around the same direction that you were planning on doing. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm all into that cutesy stuff right there. If you want to wheel and deal and nickel and dime at the line, I am all in on that. Okay, anything to do to win. But at the same time, if it doesn't work, we're going to need Franklin to come in there and go, hey, tighten it up. Or I should say LTFI. And let's go ahead and keep going here, all right?
Yeah. We gotta lock in, and just it's so hard to make the right play because we're not in it, But at some point you have to get over the hump, or what are we doing here?
So then to talking about getting over the hump. So this season, what do you want to see out of the offense? And you're like, and this is all, we're just speculating here. We're just going off the cuff here. What do you want to see out of the offense? Like maybe run to pass percentage wise, or maybe formation wise. What do you think the offense needs to be doing this year that will make them get to that next hump?
I think you got to keep it balanced, which they're good at doing that. They're good at keeping the run pass balance. But we need to see the passing game take over in the most important moments. Because like you said, you're going to get into that 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. You're not going to be able to hand it off to Singleton and Allen and get it. You're going to get it a couple times if you do that. But in the biggest games, you're not going to be able to just hand it off to Singleton and Allen. You're going to have to hit one of the receivers, one of the tight ends, or even one of the backs out of the backfield. Drew has to make the winning plays in winning time.
All right. So on top of that, then, so to pivot to the other side of the ball, what do you want to see from the defense this year?
Defense, I don't want to say I'm worried because of the reputation Knowles has, but you're talking about bringing in a new system. Like, supposedly he's adapted his terminology to what Penn State players have known. So he's made the biggest adjustment, which that's going to be the hardest part is terminology, making sure everybody knows their job. But at the end of the day, with him calling plays, you hope that you don't have to worry about the defense, basically. Let them do their thing. For the most part, they're going to hold other teams under 20, 24 points a game. And offense, get to 30.
Get to I love
Get
that.
to 30.
That hashtag get to 30. That's our goal for this season. Hashtag get to 30. That's what we want to do every game. But, with that being said, and with Knowles bringing, this is something I want to ask you right before we wrap it up here. Him actually coming into this program and changing his program, his style of defense for Penn State, I thought was massive. I thought him not coming in and just saying, this is how we're going to do it, but him literally overhauling his own defense to bring it in really shows how all in I think he is with this team. And I was just curious how you felt about that, if that had any resonation with you or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Because he's on the older side, and people aren't, can't teach a old dog new tricks, But it seems like he came in with an open mind. How do I make this transition the easiest? Because we are in win now mode. When he when he went to Ohio State, that defense was a project. That defense was middle of the road, basically. And that it's not the same situation. He's not coming into the same situation at Penn State. Penn State's top 5 defense. And I'm not even saying, I think the defense was national championship worthy last season. So a step back of any point would be a disappointment for sure. I think you got to keep that top 5 status with Jim Knowles. You're hoping he brings something. And the biggest thing I think with him coming over is Drew had his worst games the last 2 seasons against Ohio State, right, where he was the defensive coordinator. And Kotelnicki and Knowles have reportedly been working together a lot on that self-scouting. All right, why did you play it this way? How did you know we were going to do this? So I think that was going to be a huge help too, was the self-scouting. You're bringing in a opposing defensive coordinator that has planned for you for 2 years and shut you down. So what does he know that can help the offense and Andy Kotelnicki not get into rhythms and predictability? How do they keep it unpredictable? And I think Jim Knowles will have a big say in how the offense moves forward as well because of that scouting.
I think you're 100% right. I love that you brought up the self-scouting, being a former coach myself and then going and working with other coaches at camps and stuff, asking them, how did you know we were going to do this? How did you know that we were going to do that? And just being able to see it from another perspective that you would never have thought of, I think is going to literally, and I think on the same side for Knowles with Kotelnicki's knowledge, I think this is going to only make them both better in a way that it's only going to enhance the offense and the defense this year.
Yeah, and it's something we haven't heard a whole lot of in Franklin's 12 years, is that the defense coordinator came in and just self-scouted the offense, essentially. So I think if they keep that mindset where Knowles is able to self-scout throughout the season, this offense, it's only going to help the offense in Kotelnicki. Hey, you're getting too predictable on 3rd down. They know what you're going to do on 3rd down. So with Knowles being so good at defense to where maybe he can make, an hour or whatever amount of time a week to self-scout the offense, it's only going to help this team.
I love that. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Every side of from the coaching to the offense to the defense. I can't wait.
Like, if last year was a season to remember, what do you call this season?
The season. The season.
All right, so that'll do it for this episode. Our 4th episode here. Like, subscribe, review. This week we will be taking Friday off for the holiday, so we'll come back at you next Tuesday. Probably look at some defensive stuff, or who knows what'll come up in the week ahead. So we look forward to talking to you guys then. And like I said, like, subscribe, follow, and let's build a community here for Penn State fans.
Love it, guys. Like he said, excited. I'm actually, defense is my thing. So if we bring up defense tomorrow, next week, I'll be very excited for that. So we'll see about that. And guys, like you said, like, comment, subscribe. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. Always. Thank you.
Have a good holiday, guys.